Miss Administrator Guzman, it's my great pleasure to meet you here. You have been traveling and visiting business owners across the country. What are those complaints or issues that you have been hearing from them trying to go through this time of the pandemic?
I've been traveling across the country meeting with small businesses of all sizes and different industries, and really what I am hearing some optimism as we've seen that the American Rescue Plan and the Biden administration's efforts to try to battle COVID have started to pay off. With great vaccination rates hopefully still climbing as we get more people vaccinated and get people together back on Main Street, back in business centers, so that our businesses can recover some of the revenues lost. So that's one of the first things. In addition, they still need help. They're still reeling from a disaster. There's still a lot of unknowns coming down the pipeline. And so they definitely want to be prepared with the capital to be resilient. And so seeking further relief from the SBA. And finally, just wanting to be connected. They know that, being aware of services and offerings immediately is what's the benefit to them in order to survive. And so establishing those relationships locally with our district offices and our resource partners is really critical to make sure they get federal relief in the future.
That's great. Why is Las Vegas a city of interest that you have to go to and talk to those business owners?
Yeah, so the businesses in Las Vegas are really representative of the high impact that some industries have. This is the entertainment capital of the world, and so many businesses relied on people getting together, people vacationing, traveling tourism. And so here is really representative of the type of revenue impact and cost impact that we've seen, and we just want to make sure that we understand what those businesses are going through so that SBA can be very customer first and deliver help to them, meet them where they are with that help.
Before pandemic, restaurants received the most number of SBA loans. This early May, the Restaurant Revitalization Fund was established to provide $28.6 billion funding to help restaurants. It seems that the government has a particular preference for the restaurant business. Would you please help us understand more about that?
With PPP and COVID EIDL and all of our programs at the SBA, we're trying to support all of our small businesses. The food and beverage industry in particular is dominant with a lot of small businesses. It's one of the top 5 industries for small businesses, and we know that that's also one of the highest impacted businesses. So Congress funded the Restaurant Revitalization Fund with $28.6 billion to try to make sure that those restaurants could recover. We know that when people go out to dine, they also go to shop, and they're out and spending in local communities and recycling that money in local communities. And so SBA is proud to administer these programs that Congress provides in an equitable manner.
Business owners are very much concerned about inflation and difficulty finding laborers. Have you ever heard of these issues during your travels? And any programs or works ahead to ensure that these issues will be addressed?
I think what I've heard a lot around the country is that businesses were able to use some of the relief programs to position themselves for some of the higher costs they've had to assume. And that's been in their pivot and adaptations to the COVID. Maybe they had to do outdoor dining or build some plexiglass dividers, whatever the case was. But they know that there's higher workforce costs right now as people are starting to get comfortable with going back to work and starting to get the care and for their children as well, so that they can go back to work. So I think that the number one thing we've been hearing is that we need to continue to fight the COVID pandemic so that we can normalize our market and get people back to work as soon as possible. I think that the relief and the potential for capital into the future is what's going to position these businesses to compete in the new marketplace with some of these added expenses.
We know that different types of grants from the federal government have helped businesses go through the pandemic. Are there any new funding plans in the near future that we can expect to further assist small businesses in building resilience?
A lot of the businesses pointed to PPP and the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, as well as shuttered venues, operated grants is really critical for their survival during this time. But as we look to recover, we're really leaning into some of our more patient recovery debt. At this point, there's the COVID EIDL, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, which offers really low-cost, long-term deferred payment debt. So the next best thing to be able to get some capital to start taking advantage of the recovery opportunities. So while we're more limited on some of the free grants that were available through Restaurant Revitalization Fund, and of course shuttered venues is still available, we're really trying to lean into recovery products. President Biden's Build Back Better agenda actually has strong investments for our small businesses. We know that infrastructure, of course, is really critical for even our small businesses that rely on roads for shipping or receiving their products. Our broadband, as so many have adopted technology. But not only that, it includes key investments in SBA's core programs to make sure that we have the capital, the loans, the investments, as well as the programs to spur innovation and entrepreneurship and manufacturing for our small businesses. So I'm hopeful for the future with these key investments really continuing to support growth amongst our small businesses.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you very much.